So just in time for Prime Day, we're seeing a lot of sellers getting messaging about their items being used, sold as new, and they're being asked to provide a plan of action within 7 days, or they may not be allowed to sell on Amazon. But none of their listings have been blocked, and their account isn't suspended at that point. What does this mean?
Some of the listings they don't have access to, and some they do, which is kind of confusing. But typically the language, the 7 days is meant to kind of send a warning shot over your bow because they're sizing you up for a possible suspension. They want a pre-plan of action from you within that 7-day period to show them some invoices, show them some supply chain, and get at the heart of why are you getting these used, sold as new complaints. The problem is they're still using this unfortunate term, used, sold as new. And of course, I've got lots of sellers and clients contacting me telling me we only sell brand new items. We've never sold used items on Amazon. And I want to interpret that for people because I'm getting this question a lot. It's not necessarily that you're only selling used products when you should be selling new items. It's a condition complaint. Possibly, yes, it involves inventory going back into FBA if you're using FBA, and returns come back. They put it into resellable inventory when they shouldn't. Because they think it's still new, but your buyers don't think it's new anymore. Right. That's a problem, of course. If it's open box, it's not new anymore. If the condition isn't 100% new looking, then it's not new anymore. But your plan of action can't just point the finger at FBA. You have to get at the heart of whatever these condition complaints are, or sometimes they just say the description on the product detail page isn't matching your inventory, which is kind of more of a not as advertised complaint. Not sure why they're showing up as used, sold as new, but
it's kind of like inauthentic, right? Inauthentic means not as expected.
Right. Right.
But so used, sold as new could really mean anything from damaged and defective to just not as expected, not as described.
Right. It could be poor package. It could be damage in transit. It could be poor packaging. It could be defective product from a bad batch. It could be worn-looking packaging. It could be open box items. It can mean a lot of things. And that's the problem. Amazon doesn't really specify these properly. And it's good that you brought up inauthentic, right? Because a lot of people contact us and say, they are authentic, and I've got an invoice, and maybe I even have a letter from the brand or the supplier. It's an unfortunate term that they're using. It's not very descriptive. Used, sold as new is the same thing. It doesn't necessarily mean used, even though they say the word used. It means that you have to prove to them that you're sourcing new product without blemishes, without it being aging inventory. You've got documentation.
Right. You have to prove to them that you'll make sure that customers don't think that your products are used in the future, whether they're used or not.
Right. I'm concerned because people are appealing and burning through and wasting appeals just saying we've never sold any used items. What are you talking about? This is FBA's fault. That's a waste of your time, and you're hurting yourself by doing that. Just as people who say inauthentic, I've never sold anything counterfeit in my life, who just attach an invoice and never even write a plan of action, are hurting themselves too. So that's my motivation. Yeah.
And another thing I wanted to talk about is the fact that this is coming prior to a suspension, because this is something that sellers have been asking Amazon to do for a while. But one thing that I've noticed is that sellers don't take these pre-suspension plans as seriously as a plan once they've been suspended. So like we have people coming to us saying, well, we don't really need you yet, but this is as important, if not more important, because this is your chance to actually avoid having a suspension in the first place.
So if they ask you for a plan of action, if it's in that language, for whatever reason, you need a good plan of action. Assume that you need a plan of action that's just as good as if you were suspended. I think mentally, if you're not, if you're still selling, if you're not totally suspended, maybe it registers differently, but you still only have 7 days. It's not like when you're suspended and they give you 17 days to give them a fully formed POA before they close the account entirely. You still need to take similar action. So I'm not sure why people aren't reading it that way, but I do. So.
Yeah, no. And I mean, we've seen people who do get suspended after not giving a viable pre-POA. So this is your chance to avoid dealing with a suspension before it happens. So
which is what everyone wanted.
Seriously.
Everybody wanted a warning before, why don't they send a warning before they suspend you? This is it.
This is it.
That's what the pre-POA process is all about. So you have to take it seriously now that we've got it, because we didn't have it last year. So,
Right, exactly. So please take it seriously. Please make sure you submit a great plan of action when you get these.
Ask me questions.
And avoid any problems. If you're not sure if your plan of action is good, you can show it to Chris and he will let you know if it's ready to send or not.
Yeah, and maybe not everybody, but maybe we can have some people posting them in the Facebook group too, so we can all kind of chime in on what needs to go in or come out, because we're here to answer questions and we're happy to facilitate any misunderstanding that might be going on out there. So
absolutely. Yeah. Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, thanks.